Hi, thanks for watching. Please click like and subscribe and stay tuned after the video to see how you can keep this channel going. On to the show. Hello humans, welcome back to Ask Addi. I'm the eponymous Addi, Addison Smith. First, I have to address that I'm back video I did a few months ago, in which I bragged about all the upcoming content, and the fact is I did have several episodes recorded and I was busy editing them, and then I realized that I hated them. Not the content or my delivery, that was fine as always. No, what I kept getting stuck on was the set. And the lighting and the way they interacted with the editing, I just didn't like it. I'm a perfectionist. So I threw out all those recordings, built a new table, got this chair without those shadow casting arms, and reset the lights. Ready to film again. And then this happened. My hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome led to cranial-cervical syndrome. Basically, that means the bones in my neck were sliding around, causing me issues like neck pain, headaches, breathing issues, trouble swallowing, arm pain, and on and on. It's like the vertebrae were crushing nerves and blood vessels and stuff. Wearing this collar a few hours a day puts things back in place, so I'm feeling somewhat better. And then my voice started going out. And it turns out that I have laryngopharyngeal reflux, also due to HEDS. I just call it LPR, and it is much like GERD in that it is caused by stomach acid backing up the esophagus, but the symptoms are concentrated in the throat and larynx, so no heartburn or anything like that. Basically, I've been burning my vocal cords with acid, so my voice wasn't working. Now, after various therapies, my voice is back, and I don't have to wear the collar all the time, so I'm able to continue the series. So, let's get to it. Today we have a question about our ever-evolving language and the way terms you may have heard applied to trans or non-binary people in the past may or may not be appropriate today. A different Jess M, not the one from the pronouns video, asks, are the terms gender-neutral and gender-bender passé or considered negative by someone identifying as non-binary? They're older phrases I'm familiar with, but don't much hear them anymore. Another Jess M. Well, another. You have two very different terms here, so we'll take them one at a time. Some people do call themselves gender-neutral, usually to mean neither man nor woman. There are some other ways of defining the term, but that's the general sense. I don't hear a lot of people call themselves gender neutral in my community, and I don't call myself that either, even though I am a non-binary person. But that's just me and my community, and we don't speak for all queer people everywhere. We're not a monolith, always remember that. I think the reason I don't use it is because gender neutral can be applied to a lot of things that aren't people. Bathrooms can be gender neutral. Clothes can be gender neutral. Names can be gender neutral, like Addison. Hi. Toys can be gender neutral. I'm not any of those things, so I don't like the same adjective applied to me. People are going to disagree with me about this. There's probably going to be some nasty comments from the usual transphobes, and some queer people don't like what I just said, and that's fine. We're not a monolith. Again, we can disagree. Which means, before you apply the term gender neutral to a person, make sure that that's the label that they would apply to themselves. Gender bender, on the other hand, is not usually a gender identity. Usually. In general, it means someone who disrupts or bends expected gender roles. We'll come back to that because it's key. I know no one who uses that as an identity label, and none of the major non-binary websites list gender bender as an identity term. Of course, I say that and someone is going to pop up and say, I do, and I apologize for missing it. But in general, the people I know, myself, don't use gender bender that way, and I haven't really seen it on the internet either. The reason for this is that gender bender applies to art forms and performances that disrupt from what we expect to see by playing with gender. You expect to see one thing, and you get something else. This concept is tied to the traditional gender binary because gender bending is a critique of the assumption that there's only one way to be a man and one way to be a woman. If you have men dressing or acting like a stereotypical woman or a parody of a woman, or women presenting themselves as men in order to achieve an emotional response or to amuse others, you're gender bending. Drag queens and kings are gender benders. There is gender bent art, like Disney princesses as princes, or some will call movies where they change all the characters to the other sex, like the Ghostbusters film from 2016, gender bent. The point of this is to show the absurdity of the gender roles our culture embraces and ask questions. Drag is an exaggeration of gender roles and presentation that demonstrate how limiting those roles are. And it's art. It's pretty good art, too. Also, why can't a boy have a story like a Disney princess? Why can't women be Ghostbusters? I am not a gender bender. I dress the way that I do because I am being authentic to my gender as defined by myself. I am not performing another gender or disrupting my gender. If you call me a gender bender, you're insulting me. You're saying that I am not who I present myself to be. My opinion. So, if you go to a drag show, you're watching gender benders. If you see me out and about in my usual androgynous wear, you're seeing a trans feminine non-binary person, presenting themselves as a trans feminine non-binary person. This ended up being a short episode because I can't really think of much else to say on these two words. Okay, so there's nothing left to do except to ask you for help to keeping this thing going. So take it away, me. Thanks for watching my channel. Please click like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other titles. Have a question for any show? Send it to questions@addisonsagenda.com. On my website, addisonsagenda.com, you can learn about booking me to speak at your event and much more. All money made from speaking, videos, or through a GoFundMe goes to help with the medical bills my kid and I have due to hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. The link to the GoFundMe is below, as is a link to the Ehlers-Danlos Society, where you can learn more about EDS. Thanks again for watching. Peace and long life.